Welcome to A State of Mind. This is Julian Royce. I'm a therapist, guide, and fellow traveler on this ever-unfolding path of healing and awakening, and I'm recording this here in my office in downtown Boulder, Colorado, where this inner path unfurls through somatic wisdom, internal family systems, and psychedelic ceremony, grounded in the science of meditation. This is a space for deep conversations, appreciating subtle truths, and the sacred mystery of life. You can learn more at astateofmindcounseling.org, and you can follow the thread of my music at the SoundCloud link below. And if you're seeking a powerful ally for energy, for clarity, for deep inner resilience, I invite you to work with the medicine of Shilajit. Known as the destroyer of weakness in ancient Ayurvedic texts, Shilajit is a mineral-rich resin formed over centuries in the high mountains, and the Shilajit that I am providing comes from the sacred Ural Mountains of Russia, pure, potent, and free from contaminants and additives. It's an adaptogenic powerhouse, supporting vitality, focus, and cellular regeneration, and I've personally found it to be a beautiful companion for integration, meditation, spiritual practice, and overall vitality. A single jar is $85 and will last you a couple months at least. If you feel called, send me a message through Instagram or at astateofmindpodcast.com, and I'll give you 20% off your first order as a thank you for tuning in and walking the path. And I would love to invite all of my listeners to join me in my integration group. I'm launching a new group called Freedom, Abundance, and Integration. This will be a twice-monthly online group for people on the path of transformation. Whether you're integrating altered states or navigating the intensity of everyday life, this group offers you powerful tools and a supportive community to help you come home to yourself. Integration, as Dr. Dan Siegel, one of my teachers, puts it, is the linkage of differentiated parts into a functional whole. In other words, it's how we grow a coherent, resilient mind. Through the lens of internal family systems, we learn to listen to our inner parts with compassion, and then bringing in Buddhist teachings to help us see the deep nature of mind itself, open, luminous, and free. We're going to be meeting every other Tuesday, first and third Tuesday of the month from 7 to 8:15 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. We'll be blending neuroscience, depth psychology, and contemplative wisdom in an experiential space designed to support your healing and maturation. If you're ready to align your insights with your daily life and walk this path alongside others who are doing the same, this group is for you. Send me a message, again, stateofmindcounseling.org or astateofmindpodcast.com. Thank you so much. I hope to see you there. I am reflecting on this time that we're in, and the first week that Trump took office was so impactful. I just wanted to share a few reflections about it here. It directly impacted the lives of many people that I know personally, and it was amazing to witness how a change in administration had such a drastic effect. A friend of mine had been in a 6-month-long relationship with a woman whose entire family was from Mexico. And when Trump was taking office, that entire family decided to move. Even though they were all here legally, they didn't have to move. They weren't facing deportation. Their grandmother had been traumatized trying to visit during the first Trump term, I believe. And so the whole family moved, including my friend's girlfriend, thus effectively ending that relationship. And with that move, the relationship ended, or at least changed dramatically. And it's amazing to see an entire family literally choose to leave the country because of the change in administration. I also have many friends who work for the government in different government-funded agencies or directly for the federal government. And in that first week, they told me about getting mysterious emails in their inbox that were marked as spam. They were from an outside sender, and they were, of course, from DOGE, the Department of Government Efficiency. They shared stories of colleagues, people they'd known working there for years, being fired, a lot of people choosing to quit. And so there's certainly been an increase in chaos and uncertainty. And then the final story I can share is a friend of mine lives in Guatemala and has worked for years for an NGO, a non-governmental organization, which is an aid organization whose mission is to help immigrants to Guatemala find resourcing, housing, education, jobs. And part of the mission of that organization is to help those immigrants stay in Guatemala rather than immigrating to the United States. So its intention is actually to reduce immigration to our country. Well, in the first week of Trump taking office, they lost all their funding and she lost her job. So when we're faced with chaos and uncertainty, it's possible for our nervous systems to get really activated, to go into fight or flight or to freeze and not know what to do. We tend to imagine the worst, which is called catastrophizing, and fear can kick in. And this nervous system activation can shut down the things we need to do to think clearly. It shuts down our digestion, our immunity, our creativity, our logic, our access to our frontal lobe. And so it's really important to learn practices and ways to work with ourselves so that we can be more resilient, so that when something unexpected happens, we can respond from the best possible place. And in the case of my friend in Guatemala, she had been complaining to me about her job for some months beforehand. And she wasn't really happy there. It wasn't really what she wanted. Of course, she didn't want to lose the job in that way either, but it forced her to reevaluate her life and to take her power back into her own hands and actually make some changes that she was already wanting to make. So at least in this case, that outer chaos led to an inner sense of empowerment, and for her to then create more of the life that she really wanted. And that can be the power of reframing. Anytime something that seems really negative can happen, we can reframe, recontextualize how we understand it and see if there's an opportunity there, see if there's a silver lining there, and see if we can become more empowered. It's not to excuse or bypass what's happening in the external world, but it's to have ways and perspectives to become more empowered ourselves. And I do believe that for a lot of us, the shakeup and chaos that's happening in our federal government is an opportunity to take back power to our own agency, our own sovereignty, and make the choices to decide the kind of life that we want to be living and not feel dependent on this government to provide all of that for us. So I just wanted to offer you that. So for today's episode, I'm speaking with Jake Whan. Jake is a friend of mine. He's a healer, he's a breathwork facilitator, and he's a channel. And he's deeply devoted to helping people heal, to grow, to be on their path. He's a really talented breathwork facilitator, and I got to experience that just last weekend at an event here in Boulder. He's also the founder of Ascension Agency, which he started with my friend Conrad, which is helping support spiritual entrepreneurs in bringing their soul-led missions to the world. Please see the show notes below for links to learn more about Jake and more about everything I've mentioned here. And without further ado, I bring you Jake Whan. I'm here today with Jake Whan. Jake, thank you so much for being on the podcast.
Yeah, I'm grateful and happy to be here.
Yeah, beautiful, surprisingly warm, sunny day here in Boulder, Colorado. And I know you are working as a breathwork facilitator and a coach. Do you want to share with us what you're up to these days?
Yeah, absolutely. I am mainly a breathwork facilitator. Breathwork is the main culmination of the things that I do. I do a lot of coaching work, so I help people with different ailments and diseases that they're experiencing in their body, but they ultimately desire to help heal that, to share their gifts more with the world. So I work with a lot of spiritual seekers and entrepreneurs that are wanting to remove energetic blockages in their bodies to ultimately be of their highest service.
Beautiful. I love that. Yeah. What'd you do breathwork?
Breathwork started, I was an athlete my whole entire life, and I became a strength and conditioning coach out of college. And I got into breathwork more for a performance-based type of thing. We would do breath holds while we were lifting weights and things of that nature to improve our VO2 max and things like that. But then I went through a time in my life where I was a successful health and wellness coach and built a big business in that, but I was experiencing depression, anxiety, and some suicidal thoughts and things of that nature. And I had a life coach that directed me towards a breathwork mentor. And I started working with the breathwork mentor. I started doing his breathwork tracks every single day, and it completely transformed my life.
Really?
That's amazing. Yeah.
So you were an athlete in college?
Yes, I played football in college.
Oh, amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, the breath is so powerful, obviously, and especially with sports, and it's been there, I think, in our culture in different ways that maybe it might have been called breath work, but I think successful athletes especially were using their breath, conscious of how they were breathing. Do you anything you want to speak to about that? I mean, what would you, on the football team, would they encourage breathing in a certain way?
Not really. Now what I know about it, I wish that I had known about it at that time and been able
because it would have given you an advantage.
Yeah, just to be able to in an intense moment in a game, if you're able to control and regulate your breath, you're gonna think clearer,
right,
and be able to perform at a higher pace than other people on the field. So yeah, like our breath, it connects every single thing in our body, from mentally, physically, emotionally. So if you're able to regulate your breath, you're going to perform at your best in sports for sure.
Yeah, totally makes sense.
Yes.
So it sounds like your journey, I mean, there's something in you that has called you to work with people, to be of service, to be helping people live their best life, however you want to say it. But then you experience your own darkness, it sounds like, and some depression. And what, if you like look back at that, what do you think was contributing to that, or the factors that maybe brought you there?
Yeah, it's a good question. Growing up, I grew up in a small town in Rhode Island, and there, like, I had great parents, but just nobody was really like going towards their dreams and aspirations in life. And with that, people lived average jobs, and nobody really like knew how to express their emotions freely. And in my household, my parents didn't know how to express their emotions in a safe way, and it wasn't a safe environment for me as a child to express my emotions freely. And so then when I was 24 and I was dealing with like just years of football contributed to it as well, because you're told like suck it up and don't cry and things like that.
That can be such a big part of a lot of men growing up.
Yeah.
Sports being pushed, and this thing around don't pay attention to your feelings and just like show up and do it. And I've worked with a lot of people now over the years, and that attitude like can be so helpful for in some ways. So I almost want to like speak to why that's there. A lot of people in business or sports or whatever, it's like it can help you to succeed in the 3D world in certain ways. And then there can be a huge cost to it, and you're getting cut off, and you're over repressing or compartmentalizing too much. So ideally we can find integration, but I think it's actually some of the people I work with actually need to develop a skill to be able to put their emotions to the side in order to function, get things done, show up for their job, or even show up for their kids. So we, I try to teach people this like balanced way of like feeling your emotions, processing when you need to, making time for it, but also having this skill to be able to put things to the side. But I think for so long, our culture, especially with men, right, was way out of balance in the other way. And we don't get modeled to us what it means to be emotionally intelligent and be able to feel and express and connect on a deeper level.
Yeah.
So I feel you there.
Yeah, absolutely. We haven't really, I know that for myself growing up and being around men now, like being able to show your vulnerability and actually express your emotions freely is something that isn't spread at all.
Yeah.
And isn't safe. So yeah, that's what ultimately led me to the place that I was at in my life, is just never having the space, the safe space to express myself freely.
Yeah, that makes sense. So I'm just imagining you're going through life, football, college. Like, at what point did that door open, or did you want to open that door?
In terms of like expressing myself?
Yeah,
it really came around when I was 25, when I went and what led to it was I had a very transformative plant medicine experience that changed my view of reality forever. And then it kind of just led me on this whole path to where I was then surrounded by more people and safe spaces that were talking about emotions and trauma and things of that nature. And so I was then brought into those spaces, and that's really when it all started, of me expressing myself more freely.
Amazing. So yeah. Do you want to share what was the plant medicine?
It was Bufo aloe-veris.
Oh wow, that's super powerful.
Yes.
So AKA DMT.
Yes.
Experience. Amazing.
Yes.
Yeah, a lot of people, psychedelics have that role in the lives of so many people. And I can include myself in this, where it opens up the door to new perspectives, to spirituality, however you want to conceive of that, to the importance of our emotions, to the depths that we may have kept hidden from ourselves, or have been hidden from our conditioning, from society. And and then the question is, what do you do with that? How do you move forward? I feel like our culture's in this kind of death and hopefully rebirth process right now, actually. And because of that time we're in culturally, things can feel confusing and kind of all over the place, and we don't have specific. We have a lot of maps, but we don't have like one map that's like our culture. We're kind of developing new ones too.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. So
yeah,
I think a lot of people can relate to what you're sharing. Like your eyes open, you have this powerful psychedelic experience, and then how do you move forward with that? And it sounds like you're finding your way with coach, with breathwork.
Yeah, for sure. It was the thing that took me towards breathwork as my path moving forward. The Bufo ceremony led me to like, okay, my health and wellness business isn't feeling in full resonance with me anymore, but it was like the only thing that I knew. And that's what took me towards getting certified in breathwork facilitation.
Yes. Well, they're so related, in my mind anyway, health and wellness.
Yeah.
Getting in touch with your breath and your body and your emotions.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. I noticed when I was working with people that had like problems with losing weight and things of that nature, was that I would ask them like, when did these problems really start for you? When did you not be able to lose weight anymore? When did you develop this chronic disease? And they would always be like, well, I went through a separation. I went through a divorce. I went through this experience. Or I had this childhood. And it was always interesting to see like, oh, okay, their issue like probably isn't that they're not able to lose weight. Their issue is something emotional, something within their nervous system, something within the body that is expressing itself in this physical form.
That makes so much sense. Yeah, it's all related. There's something like, maybe that's a good even definition of trauma, like some event or experience or situation that's cut you off from your natural life force and your sense of balance and flow. And unfortunately, a lot of people maybe never really experience that, but we all have that potential.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, we all have the potential to connect deeply with our bodies and the power that they hold inside. We've just gone through some experiences that can block us off from that, and also the society that we live in. Like, if you go kind of the normal path in life, it cuts you off from that life force.
Yeah, it can, for sure. Yeah. Oh, yeah, it's a big thing to look at. It's almost like, I guess, like becoming, I don't know, people talk about the matrix or like a worker bee. And it's like your life force is literally being siphoned off. And I think part of how that's happening is through our attention, our awareness and our attention, which is interesting. We don't normally think about it, but we're in this like attention economy now. And so all these phones, apps, things that are grabbing our attention are able to, like, there's a power in that when I think about it from my point of view, it's almost like it's a spiritual kind of metaphysical thing almost. Translates into real dollars in the bank account in today's world, but it's not obvious that should be so. But it is so. And if you create Facebook and then you get millions of people looking at it, it's not just through the advertising. I believe it's all the data they're collecting, and I mean there's a lot there. But yeah, there's all these ways in which we're spending our life force. And there's a lot of forces in the world that are, they don't have our best interests in mind.
No, they do not. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we only have so much life force to give. And I even noticed this for myself. Like, I desire to spend less time on my phone and be more continuously creating rather than continuously consuming.
That's a good way to put it.
Yeah, it's definitely, but it's difficult in like your day and age where, like, for someone like myself, where I am putting out a lot of content, it's difficult to like go onto an app that is programmed to have you consume it and like to be there and scroll, but to just like post the video and then go away. Yeah, it's difficult.
I can't do that. I tried, but I can't do that either.
Yeah, like you're like, I'm gonna go post this video, and then you get on there and you're 10 minutes later you're like, what was I even doing on here? And then you come back to it afterwards. It's pretty crazy how it works.
It's wild. It's so addictive. And yeah. It's almost like it grabs this part of our attention that's not fully conscious, and like almost like a dream. And all of a sudden a minute has gone by, 5 minutes have gone by, however long has gone by, and you scrolled down and seen like 5 videos.
Yep.
Like what just happened?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think bringing back to breath work, connecting with your breath can be a way to gain more conscious control, have more choice and agency. I was going to say, in terms of psychedelic experiences, it would be fascinating to see research done on someone going into a plant medicine journey, like you talked about, change your life, change the direction of your life. It can be so powerful, so healing. We give all this power to the medicine, the physical substance, obviously very impactful, but in that experience, for sure, it's 100% sure, your breath is changed. You're breathing in a different way than in your normal waking life without the medicine. It'd be interesting to somehow study that. Like I imagine in that Bufo experience for a lot of people, this is just my conjecture, but I imagine that there's a much longer period maybe where the breath is held out, and you might not even be consciously aware of that. But that Bufo experience of people talk about kind of going up into the cosmos or dissolving, or this experience of becoming one with the universe, or everything disappearing into kind of like hitting the reset button on your computer. Maybe everything goes black for a moment and you even forget who or what you are. I'm imagining in that moment, it's kind of like an outward breath that's like extended out for a period of time. Because in the Buddhist tradition and yogic traditions, the breath and our thoughts, are deeply connected. And there are practices to slow the breath down, do long breath holds, but then also breathe out. And you can kind of feel the mind slowing down and stopping if you do that. Obviously, you don't want to overdo that. You don't want to pass out or put yourself in physical danger. But there's an interesting connection there between our thinking and the way we're breathing and our emotions and all of it. So
yeah. I mean, our breath is in tune with all of that. I know that in my plant medicine experiences, connecting with the breath is one of the most powerful things in that. Like when I am connected with the breath in the ceremony, it allows everything to slow down a bit. I feel like I come into control in a grounded space within my body, and I'm in the experience rather than the experience like taking me over in a way. Because when I first experienced plant medicines, it definitely felt like I was taken over and the thing was in control. But over time, like the more I've connected with my breath, the more I'm like centered in the experience. And yeah, the breath is like the most powerful thing that we can do, and with plant medicines and just in our everyday life, like if we're able to focus on our breath, we're able to connect more deeply with ourselves.
Absolutely, yeah. It sounds like some of those plant medicine experiences have been a big part of your journey.
Yeah, for sure. They've definitely taught me a lot. I will say that, yeah, it's an interesting thing that I felt into is like, do we actually need the plant medicines? And I always come back to like the fact that like, God, universe, source, whatever we want to call it, placed them here for a reason. And they really all are our allies and our friends. And so with that, we do have the ability to use these medicines in a way that allows for us to, what they've really helped me see is just what we have the ability to tap into without the need for medicine.
Nice, I like that.
Yeah.
That's a big part for me of integration. Be able to have that kind of experience and open up to what's possible, and then find ways to make long-term sustainable changes in your life that are informed by that, or maybe help you access that more often, or whatever. I mean, it could look so many different ways, but I think you're speaking to that.
Yeah. And honestly, breath work has been the thing that's allowed me to like connect back with those spaces. Like with Bufo or mushrooms or Aya, whatever it is, like the breath helps. It's an interesting thing of like, once you've experienced it with the medicine, your breath can take you back into similar places, and you become the medicine in a way. Of like, you can continuously connect with these deeper parts of yourself and connecting with other realms and all those things without the need for taking something externally.
Nice. And it sounds like you've experienced that.
Yeah. Some of my most powerful experiences have come in breathwork.
When you say breathwork, are you referring to holotropic breathing or different kinds of breathwork?
Yeah, I've done a lot of different types. The main one that I do is kind of focused around holotropic, but I'm certified in somatic breathwork, which is a form of holotropic. Like it's deep rhythmic breathing where you're in through the mouth, out through the mouth to get yourself in an altered state of consciousness, which is holotropic. But there's breath holds involved, and then there's also like more parasympathetic breathing to really integrate the experience. Holotropic is more so you're just
you're
just going for it for a very, very long time.
I've experienced holotropic breathwork in ceremony or workshops like a number of times in my life. Let me ask you a question. Is it, because it's, when we do holotropic breathwork, it's usually taught in and out through the mouth. Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
And I don't like that. I don't like mouth breathing like that. So I've been in holotropic breathwork where I'm breathing in through the nose, out through the mouth, or it's just in through the nose, or I'll do mouth, out through the mouth for a little bit, and then I'll switch to through the nose. Yeah. But I'm breathing in deep and faster than normal, and like really kind of pushing to breathe more. Yeah. Do you have any thoughts on that? Like, does it matter through the mouth or nose with that?
It's a good question. In through the mouth, out through the mouth, it's just a bigger cavity.
So you're taking in more air.
You're taking in more air. You're taking in more oxygen. So it allows you to get more into that altered state of consciousness. So like, I totally understand the aspect of, I have many people that I work with, like, I don't really like breathing in through my mouth, and I don't like it either. Because you get like, I know that for me, like the mouth gets dry and it gets uncomfortable, but like that is also the point of it. Is to like, you're able to bring more oxygen in and express and let out more, which allows for you to get into the altered state of consciousness easier. Just when we breathe in through our nose, it's smaller passage, so you're not able to get as much air in.
But you still could have similar effects if you do it right. Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, you can definitely have similar effects. It's just the mouth is the easiest way to get into that altered state. Yeah,
that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, and just to share with people, like I've had like holotropic breathwork, usually like you're laying on your back, there's usually evocative music playing, and there's someone kind of coaching, encouraging you to breathe more, faster, deeper, and help you with a certain rhythm that's like, so it's intense. It's an intense experience, and it definitely leads to dreamlike, psychedelic-like experiences, visionary experiences, and it's almost like my experience of it, like you're revving up an engine, and then it's going and going, and then you're starting to feel that altered state more in whatever way it's manifesting, and then you kind of let go of the breath and you kind of coast for a while, and then at some point you feel yourself coming maybe more back to normal, and you can start breathing again like that, and it'll take you back there.
Yep.
Is that similar to your experience with?
Yeah, especially in holotropic, like in the breath work that I do, I'm more so guiding people the whole time in the experience. Like there will be rounds, and then there will be holds and things of that nature. But I've been in the holotropic, I've been in like conscious connected breathwork is kind of the same thing. I was in an experience a couple weeks ago where like you start breathing and you're just kind of on your own, and you're in the experience, and you just go for like 45 minutes. And that is similar to my experience. Is like you breathe like that, and it kind of brings you into this altered state, and you have like visions or some sort of experience where the breath, you kind of forget to breathe in a way. And then you're like, oh, I'm coming back. And then you can very easily go back into that breath, and then you go back into that altered state. But yeah, it is kind of like revving of an engine, or you bring yourself into that altered state, you're in the altered state, you have the experience, and then you can go back into the breath and go back into that state. So yeah, I've definitely had many of those experiences.
I've always done that in a group setting. Is that something you would do on your own, or recommend to people? You could do it on your own, right?
Yeah, you can do it on your own for sure. I do a lot of it on my own. I know that when somebody is guiding you, it allows a person to be with you to help guide you through the experience, which can help a lot. But once you get to a certain level of experience, like you can do it on your own. A group energy is going to, like when you're in a group, there's going to be a collective energy, a collective processing. And when you're by yourself, it's going to be more of an individualized process.
Right. Yeah, the group energy can really help hold you in the space and help you keep going with it longer than you might otherwise.
Yeah, it can. If it can for sure. And then also for some people, like it can put them into a place of uncomfortability too, of like, if this person is releasing and expressing for somebody that's new with it, it can also take away from their experience just because they're not used to it yet. But once you get to a certain level of, this goes back to the aspect of expression. Like if you've lived a life where you've never been able to express yourself, and then you're near somebody that is expressing themselves, it's going to challenge your ego. And
it could be uncomfortable.
Yeah, it can be uncomfortable. But ultimately, the group experiences are things that I enjoy doing the most,
Nice.
I would say. Yeah.
What kind of, I guess I was curious to ask you, like, what you do for breathwork, like, on a regular basis, rather than looks in your life? Like, what kind of techniques you're using?
Yeah. I've really, like, intuitively created my own, but it's all based upon somatic breathwork.
Okay.
Somatic breathwork is like you start with a bit of a meditation, and then you go into breaths in through the mouth, out through the mouth. Like powerful breaths, it's more of a releasing pattern. And then that helps you express, that helps you clear energy in the body. And then I go into breaths in through the nose, out through the mouth. So I'll start with like a, that will be the first round. And then I'll hold after like 30 or 40 breaths. And then I'll go into breaths in through the nose, long exhales out the mouth. So it's like you're clearing space, and then you're able from that cleared space to get into more of a regulated, relaxed state. So that will be kind of more of a regular practice, is like I'll do that in the morning just to bring myself into center, and then like go into a bit of a meditation.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
So in through the mouth, out through the mouth for 30, 40 breaths, and then doing a breath hold.
Yeah.
Are you holding the in-breath for a while?
Yeah. Hold the breath for as long as you can, and then breaths in through the nose, out through the mouth, and then I'll go into a hold at the bottom after 30 to 40 breaths.
Okay.
And then in that space, like, breath is so cool. It just puts you into a very like calm space, and then you can go into like a meditation from there.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
It's like kind of like in yoga doing pranayama, maybe the meditating. But the breath, holding the breath in can be such a great way to ground, and then holding the breath out can be super powerful. Like we were talking about earlier, it can be challenging. It can be more fear provoking. I feel like.
Yeah.
Is that right? Yeah.
Yeah, because you're
my experience.
yeah, because you're without oxygen.
Yeah.
So your brain is like, hey, when are you gonna breathe? When we do an in-hold, it's like, okay, I have all this oxygen inside of me. But the more you do breath holds on an exhale, the more your body gets used to having more carbon dioxide in your body. So then it becomes more comfortable with it. But yeah, that the out breath induces more fear because we're without oxygen. Yeah.
Right, that totally makes sense. Your body's like freaking out. And
yeah.
I think that can be part of the benefit. You're expanding your capacity to be in that intensity.
Yeah.
Kind of overcome that fear.
Yeah.
I've noticed, I'm not doing it now as much in my life, but there have been periods of time where I've practiced breath work more consistently, and that ability to hold the breath longer, hold the breath out longer, that can really expand. It's amazing to experience that.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's just like a muscle that you work, like just like if you go to the gym.
Yeah.
You're expanding your capacity, you're becoming stronger. So when you practice the breath holds, you practice the breath, you're working your diaphragm. And so it allows you to live a higher quality of life when you're able to breathe properly. Because if you're not getting oxygen, is a transporter of nutrients. So if we're not getting enough oxygen into our body, we're not getting enough nutrients into our body.
That's right. Yeah. And it's similar what you're describing to Wim Hof breathing in some ways. Speak to that at all?
Yeah. Wim Hof, I would say, is more performance based. I would say is like you're going to improve your biomarkers. You're going to improve your health with it. I would say that's more so what I use Wim Hof for, and in my experience. And then in terms of like the emotional healing and the trauma and things of that nature, doing more like holotropic, somatic, that type of stuff helps more with that. But yeah, Wim Hof like just improves your performance and your health in life.
Yeah. It can be a similar way of breathing in and out for a certain amount of time and then holding the breath and then
Yeah, if you were to do Wim Hof for like, I know Wim Hof does where he'll do like 10 rounds of it, and that you're going to go into an altered state of consciousness.
That's a lot.
Yeah. Yeah, there's tingling sensations and all that.
Nice. So a lot of times when you're waking up in the morning, you're doing some breath work to get going. I think that's a great way to start the day.
Yeah, absolutely.
Imagine you notice a big difference when you do that and when you don't.
Oh yeah, it's like morning cup of coffee. Like if you don't have it, you notice the difference. And so yeah, it's been I've been doing breath for every day for about the past 3.5 years.
Wow.
And it's transformed my life completely.
Love that.
Yeah.
Do you want to share with us more what that looks like for you? Like your typical morning routine?
Yeah.
That's been something I've helped a lot of people I work with. Like, what is their wind down routine at night and what is their wake up routine in the morning? And it can make, sometimes some subtle things can make a huge difference in someone's quality of life.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, mine is, I wake up typically when the sun is coming up and I'll go outside. I have like a little grass area with some trees. Just to ground myself, and then I'll go to the bathroom, brush the teeth. I do have a something that I say in the mirror every morning, and then I go back into my room and I'll just sit on the meditation cushion and do about 15 minutes of breath with meditation.
Nice.
And yeah, that puts me in a very beautiful state, and then I might go into some journaling or a walk. But it's pretty simple, and that's how I start each day.
Just simple and consistent.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, I think the consistency is a big thing. Sometimes it might look a little bit different. Like if I have more time, I'll do like a half an hour of breath, or I might do a much longer meditation. But typically like 15 minutes every morning with breath is how I start every day.
Nice. And just to share with us again what that breathing looks like for you in the morning. It's in through the mouth, out through the mouth.
So I'll start by taking like just 3 breaths to get myself centered and grounded, and then I'll go into 30 to 40 breaths in through the mouth, out through the mouth, and then on the 40th breath, take a big inhale, hold for as long as I can, let that out, in through the nose, long exhales out the mouth. 30 to 40 breaths, exhale, hold for as long as I can. Then I'll take an inhale and just and then go into a meditation.
Nice.
Yeah.
Imagine that just really clears things up.
Yeah. Because a lot of people try to go directly into meditation, but it's difficult when your mind has been going for a long time and you haven't learned how to quiet it. The breath is something that it allows you to focus on one thing. And so when you're just focused on the breath, it allows the mind to quiet. So it helps go into meditations much easier.
Yeah, definitely. It helps quiet the mind. I found that waking up in the morning, it's great to meditate in the morning, but I found a lot of benefit in kind of like what you're describing, getting sunlight on my body, stretching, drinking water, using the bathroom. Maybe I'll take my dog for a walk. And then sitting down, it can feel more settled and regulated and more alert and awake. I think there's different ways we can work with meditation.
Yeah.
It's kind of this ideal in the Buddhist traditions of as soon as you wake up, you're meditating. And for most, I've just kind of found in my normal life, it's better to have this wake up period and bring in some energy and then sit with more focus and clarity.
Yeah. I know that morning sunlight, there's so many benefits to it, but
yeah, that's been a big thing in my life. I've been doing that consistently for the last year, making an effort to do that, and I've noticed a huge difference.
Yeah.
Letting the sun into my eyeballs.
Yes. Yeah, because you're signaling to your body it's time to wake up.
Yeah.
I find some difficulty as well of I know that when I wake up before the sun rises, you can get into some pretty cool altered states because you're still kind of in that in a sleep state, but meditations can be really deep. But yeah, just having that, waking up, getting the morning sunlight, going on a walk, something like that, and pairing that with breath, if you feel incredible.
Absolutely. Yeah. Definitely recommend that. Well, do you want to share anything else around breath work you're doing with people? How you would work with them around that?
Yeah. I've been working with clients for about the past 2.5 years now with breath. And I've worked with people that have multiple diseases and autoimmune conditions and things of that nature, and just bringing them into more of a relaxed state, safe space in their body has allowed them to create massive healing in their life.
Mm.
And then I work with coaches and entrepreneurs who like desire to make more money in their businesses, and they desire to have a stronger impact. And the breath, we're able to go into a state where we like clear out emotional blockages that are keeping them from accessing that next state within their business. Because like if I have an emotion that's trapped within me, my nervous system is going to be a bit dysregulated, which won't let me to be in coherence with this higher vibration that I desire to get into. So when I'm able to clear this, I'm able to get into a higher vibration, which allows me to attract that higher state of abundance. So like our nervous system and our nervous system and the frequency that we resonate at are very in tune with one another, and the frequency that I'm resonating at allows me to attract the life that I desire. So yeah, breath is a huge thing that has helped me like work with all these different types of people.
Interesting. I love that.
Yeah.
And you've seen results with that? You've seen people making changes in their life?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, there's a lot of ways you could look at what you're sharing. I mean, a lot of people talk about manifesting, what you're describing.
Yeah.
I think that part of what's going on there is we have these habitual patterns that we become very accustomed to, and what we think of as normal, and to have some ways to, like, obviously if you want to be making more money than you are now, or living a different life than you are now in some ways, you have to change those patterns. You can't stay the same and have a different outcome.
Yeah.
And so even just like, there's just like a emotional nervous system level of like opening to those experiences, like letting those experiences become natural, normal. I think that's part of what you're speaking to when people talk about manifesting, attracting, or vibrating.
Yeah.
It's like you have to, there's just all these pulls to what we're used to. We have to shift that somehow. It's part of what's coming for me when you share that.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, what I love about like breath is that when you go into this altered state, you can see the patterns in your life that aren't fully serving you, and then ultimately once you go through that experience, then it's up to you to like change these patterns and change these habits in your life so that you can manifest that new reality that you're wanting for yourself.
Yeah, and have these positive feedback loops where you're getting more energy from those things that are serving your higher purpose, and create these like what's sometimes called virtuous or positive feedback loops. I think that's super important.
Yeah, for sure.
Beautiful. Yeah, I think getting in touch with the breath, our nervous system, then we can be in touch with the possibilities, what's possible. And imagine and play with that and step into that way of being.
Yeah.
So, beautiful. There's also a reality here of a lot of what people are wanting. It requires holding more energy, which can often be holding more stress, honestly. And so like breathwork and meditation and things we're talking about can expand our capacity to be with stress and manage it and handle it, and feel that energy, feel that intensity, feel the fear, and not get freaked out, or not collapse, or not move away from it.
Yeah.
Like if you're wanting to grow your business, then you're also growing your responsibility.
Yeah.
So you have to be able to hold that.
Yes. Yeah. I love that you say that. That's a big thing that I focus on is the capacity to hold it all. And that's why working on our nervous systems and our patterns and our cycles and our habits and all of that, like you have to be able to hold all that you desire. Like, okay, if I want to increase my income by $10,000 a month or something like that, like I have to be able to hold that. And so if my nervous system isn't regulated and it's dysfunctional, I'm not going to be able to hold that extra money that I have, and I'll like sabotage it in some way. Because I physically, like I can't hold the responsibility to what you were saying of it. Yeah, I think there's a lot to that. It's great that you're in this world helping people. I think in the future, like things like breathwork and even like psychedelic ceremonies will become more and more common. More and more people will be using these tools and ways to
help ourselves grow, and we can be in a world of abundance where there's enough for everyone. It's not a zero-sum game. It can be a both and. It can be some people getting wealthier, living more lives of their dreams helps other people to do that. That's the vision I try to hold. So it doesn't have to be this like limited competition. It can be this abundant co-creation. And that's what I really want to call in and help create. And I think that's really true, especially when we're talking about our subjective experience, our emotional experience, our nervous system. Like you could have 7 billion people feeling amazing. Like there's no law of the universe that says that that's impossible. There might be a law of the universe that there's, X amount of gold and that can only be divided so many ways. But the thing that gives gold meaning and power is our own minds, right? Our own belief. And so we actually have the potential for us to all be in a state of balance and harmony and feeling good and feeling abundant. I really think that's true.
Yeah, I think it's true too. I mean, it's like our God-given right. We are abundant beings. We're meant to feel good. But at some point, we just lost that. We lost that knowledge, and I feel like now we're slowly gaining it back.
Yeah, we lost that knowledge. We lost the culture that supported that, and the religious, spiritual traditions that supported that. A lot of us, anyway, feel like we've lost that sense of balance and connection. And I was talking to somebody the other day, and they were talking about how human beings are the only animal species that seems to feel like we don't have a home or belong or fit in. There's a lot of people in modern westernized culture, and that we don't feel the sense of reciprocity with the natural world and this natural give and take and this trust. And we live in fight flight, we live in scarcity, we live in a lot of fear, and we live in this like we have to work really hard all the time and all that stuff. Like we've just created these systems. Yeah.
It's interesting than feeling like you don't belong. I know that I felt that in my life.
I felt that a lot in my life.
Yeah, like I don't belong, and it's in my own personal opinion, I feel a big contributor to that is just that we're not living in coherence with like our human nature of like play and fun and community and like connection, and we live a life of like go to school, get the job, make money, and be in that repetitive cycle, and it causes us to like develop anger and resentment and all these things of like this isn't the life that I feel like I'm meant to be living.
Yeah. On some level, like hundreds of millions, maybe billions of people are feeling that.
Yeah.
On some fundamental level, like, am I living the life I'm meant to be living? And it's tough. And I feel that too, to be honest. And I think I want to help do my part to contribute, create a better world. Maybe our children, maybe our children's children, like we have to somehow create. I mean, it's not about making things quote unquote perfect, but just a sense of connection with the land and community and people. And our values have gotten, we've just gotten conditioned in ways that take us away from those natural ways of being.
Yeah. And I hear you on that. And that's one of the things that I desire too, is like to bring us back to our human nature. And where we do feel like we belong, and we do have the space to like really ask, what is the life that I desire to live? And I have the freedom to follow that.
Yeah. Yeah, find that choice, that sense of agency and choice. And I was listening to a psychologist the other day, and he was saying he was like simplified way to be happy is to cultivate more and more gratitude and more agency. We just like kept going back to those 2 points. It's like agency in terms of you have choice, that you're not a victim, that you're creating the life you should be creating, and you're moving forward, and there's a sense of progress and that sense of agency, and then gratitude. And just every day he's like kind of meditating on those 2 things, and that was his recommendation. I think it's really profound.
Yeah. Gratitude is a big thing. I know that even for myself, of just being able to focus on like, okay, we can focus on all that we don't have yet. And that just puts us in a place of more fear, of more scarcity, actually rejecting ourselves from bringing ourselves towards more of the life that we desire. And like, just that the change in mindset or framework of like, oh, well, I can be happy that I have this, and I'm grateful that I have this. It completely changes your state of being.
Yeah, it really does. Yeah. Yeah, and it's always, it's available. It's something we can all access and feel, and it's like the antidote to the scarcity and all the wanting, and
yeah, if you put yourself in a state of like, I'm just so grateful that I have this water bottle, and I'm so grateful that I have the coat, and like things like that, like it puts you in a completely different state. Like even the way that you talk about it, I could be like, oh, this isn't a nice water bottle, like that puts me in a more negative state rather than and changes my whole vibration and frequency and all that.
Yeah, even when you just say that, I start to feel happier.
Yeah.
I can be grateful for this moment, this experience.
Yeah.
It's a nicer way to go through life.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it doesn't mean that I don't have desires or that I'm not trying to grow or make progress.
Yeah.
So it doesn't have to mean that. I think that's maybe a fear some people have. They're like, if I'm just grateful all the time, then I won't make the progress I want to make.
Yeah.
And it's like the opposite. It's like, no.
no. Like you can be grateful for what you have right now, but that doesn't mean that you are in like a state of just complete like complacency or something like that. Like, I'm grateful for what I have and that's it. Like, no, I'm grateful for what I have and I have desires.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and this can be fun too. I can enjoy them.
Yeah.
I'm curious about this thing around your neck. Can you share?
Yeah, it is Peruvian shungite, and then this is like a little crystal of for abundance. But there's a lady in Austin, Texas, that makes these necklaces.
Peruvian. Say the word again.
Shungite.
Shungite.
Yes, and I would describe her as like a ghetto spiritual lady. And she talks in like a very ghetto way, but she talks in a ghetto way while she's talking about like super spiritual things.
Oh, amazing.
And she like puts you through like she has all these crystals and rubs, and she does a whole energetic cleansing and alignment with your necklace when you get it. And so that's how I got this one.
That's a cool story.
Yeah.
We need more ghetto spirituality.
Yes. Yeah. Hearing her talk is very funny.
That's cool.
Yeah.
So a lot of people have been moving to Austin, and I got to spend about a week there last spring. It's a beautiful city. A lot of fun.
Yeah. I lived there for 3.5 years.
Oh, okay. Oh yeah, I was there for the eclipse.
Oh yeah.
Big eclipse.
Yeah, I was there too.
Nice.
Yeah.
It was beautiful. The festival. I went to the Eclipse Festival, and it was it ended in kind of. It was a bit of a shit show.
Yeah, it was a shit show.
But it had good intentions, I think.
Yeah, it was. I had a beautiful experience, but it was definitely a shit show.
So you were there too?
Yeah, I was there.
Amazing. Yeah. Yeah, all these beautiful people coming together, but then like the logistics. It was a little bit scary, to be honest. Water and basic things like that didn't seem like they were adequately provided.
No. Yeah, there were many things said about that festival. I'm grateful for it, and just complete shit show.
Well, you survived.
Yes, we made it through.
What was a highlight for you of that experience?
That's a good question. I would say one of the nights, my friends and I, we were on a little bit of medicines in that space. But just the way that we were just all synced up together, like going from artist to artist, just having like such an amazing time, dancing, singing, having fun with one another. It really felt like we were in like a higher state of consciousness for the whole night. And it was a lot of fun.
I love that. Yeah. Beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, I remember just to share with people, like the festival was canceled the morning of the eclipse. So it was called the Eclipse Festival.
I know.
There were these like loudspeakers making this like blaring announcement. Like, please leave immediately. Yeah. Because of some weather warning. I think it was because of a tornado warning or something. So or rain warning. But I stayed for that part, and we did have a ceremony for the eclipse, but it was a lot smaller than it would have been, and there was no electricity for it. So it was hard to hear what was going on, but it was still a beautiful gathering. It was still a beautiful experience. And then the weather that they predicted didn't end up happening.
No,
So
it was
want to give them the benefit of the doubt, but it seemed like a beautiful it's like a beautiful day. So I'm like, oh, I wonder why.
It was supposedly the weather, but yeah, it was interesting. Yeah, because I woke up that morning and I was like excited for the artists and everything that day, and excited for the whole ceremony. And then I went to the showers and they were like, yeah, the whole festival is canceled. I'm like, what? But yeah, it was
what a surprise! What a shock!
Yeah.
Well, great. Well, do you have any anything else you want to share with us while we're here today? Any last words for us?
I would say just in our conversation, like the more you can focus on the breath, the more that you will experience life. And our breath, it translates to spirit. Actually, at the Star House the other night at my ceremony, what came through before was like our breath. It literally translates to spirit. And it's the first thing that we do when we're born. And from like ancient texts and things of that nature, it's actually, they talk about it as like when we take our first breath, that's when spirit really enters our body. And then we live our lives breathing throughout our whole rest of our lives. And it's the last thing that we do before we leave this plane. So it connects everything together. The more that we can focus on our breath, the more that we can focus on experiencing all that life has to offer us.
I love that. It's so true. Yeah. Help us feel more fully, more deeply.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. Beautiful. Thanks so much for being on the podcast.
Yeah. Thank you for having me, brother. I appreciate it.
Yeah.